Welcome to the Garden Gate Project, a podcast where we talk to professionals across many fields who work directly and indirectly with plants in our natural world.
We're students at American University in Washington, D.C., and interns at the Smithsonian Gardens.
We created this project with the hopes of inspiring a new generation to make sustainable and meaningful change in our world.
I'm McKenna Friedland.
I'm Kat Rayano.
And I'm Annie Berlin. In this podcast, we'll be talking with Stephanie Destefano.
Stephanie Destefano is the Ground Operations Manager for American University. Thanks for joining the podcast. Can we start off with your name and your education?
Hi, I'm Stephanie Destefano, and I went to the University of Maryland and got a degree in horticulture and graduated in 1980 from there. Also, I work at American University and I can take classes for free, so I got a master's in anthropology while I've been here.
Okay. Could you explain what you do at American?
Sure. I'm the grounds operations manager, so that involves overseeing all the staff that take care of our gardens on campus. We're a certified arboretum and have a tree inventory, and I work with our two landscape architects that we have to manage the grounds and make sure that we keep everything horticulturally taken care of and all aspects of caring for the landscape and the grounds, including snow removal in the winter, unfortunately, but that kind of goes with the territory.
What are you doing now and how did you get there? Of how you chose your career, horticulture, and how you came to American.
Okay. I chose my career actually when I was in high school. I was never a big fan of sitting in the classroom, staying inside. I'm a very outdoors person. I like to be active, not just sit around and look at a computer back when I was in college, I didn't have too many computers, but I just always wanted to be outside. So high school was really hard for me because, you had to sit inside so long and just, was just always anxious to get out of there. So I signed up for a horticulture class and it was really different from any other class I'd taken. They had a greenhouse, got to walk around and talk and get our hands dirty and do something hands-on, which is much more my style and what I like. So I decided right then when I was in 11th grade that's what I was going to major in when I went to college. And so University of Maryland has a good horticulture program. And when I graduated from Maryland, I was really lucky to get a part-time seasonal position with the Cooperative Extension Service in Prince George's County. And I worked with two extension agents there, taking phone calls from people, that had questions about their trees and landscape and that sort of thing. So I learned a tremendous amount from them because I worked with them through March through October through the whole season. So when people called about problems with the landscape, it was very seasonal. If they called in April, they were all calling about tent caterpillars in the trees and wanting to know what to do about those. And it just moved on through the season and you'd get different calls about different insect problems or how to grow certain things. And so I learned a tremendous amount from them. And then I was lucky getting another seasonal part-time job with the National Arboretum in DC. So I worked there a season. So from right when I left the extension service, I went to the National Arboretum and I learned a whole bunch of stuff there. I got to work with the different curators of the different collections, the boxwood collection, the azalea collection, the herb garden, where I met Holly Shimizu, who had been the director of U.S. Botanic Gardens, her last career before she retired. But we kind of stayed lifelong friends from doing that. But I learned, a whole lot from there. I learned about taking care of aquatic plants. They have water lilies and fish, and I learned all kinds of stuff about that. And now I have a really nice pond at my house, so I know how to take care of pond plants, and that was fun. And then I worked for a garden center for 3 years where I, sold plants to homeowners and answered lots of plant questions and that sort of thing. Then that garden center actually closed down because they lost their lease on the land. So I had to leave there and I got a job. I was just like browsing through the paper and I ran across this random job at Leisure World, which is a huge retirement community. And they were asking for a grounds manager. So I applied for that and got that job. And so it's like a 600-acre property. And I got a job overseeing the contractor that took care of all the landscaping and interacting with all the homeowners regarding what they wanted to see in the landscape, if they had questions, if they had complaints, had the problems, whatever. I was kind of the go-between. So I was there for 18 years. And then I was and still am a member of multiple professional organizations like Professional Grounds Management Society, the International Society of Horticulture. I'm a certified arborist, but through my membership at the Professional Grounds Management Society, I met the person who was my boss here at American University, was also a member of that organization. So from Leisure World, I came to American through that contact, through that professional organization. And I've been here almost 20 years. It'll be 20 years in April. So
What was the best thing you did to get where you are today?
I would say joining professional organizations is really important. And I mean, I don't think that students realize that they can join the professional organizations. And often there's free or very discounted rates for students to join organizations like the Professional Grounds Management Society or the American Public Gardens Association or International Society of Horticulture. And they also, almost all of them, offer grants or scholarships or that sort of thing to offer incentives for students to go into the landscape or sustainability or public garden field, because there's just a lot of people don't realize how many opportunities that there are in public gardens and universities. And when I went to school in horticulture, like I had no idea where I was going to end up. So just interesting, but a lot of networking and just being around other professionals that have the same interest as you, I think provides a good network for finding your niche or finding a job or whatever.
What piece of advice would you give high school students to college students who are interested in the agriculture field?
Like I just said, try to interact with some professional organizations. Don't be afraid to reach out to professionals that are in the field or are doing something that you're interested in. Most college professors love to talk to people, and there are office hours and sit there bored and nobody comes to see them. So, I mean, I think just reaching out to people that are doing interesting things, and most of them would love to just talk your ear off and tell you everything that they love about what they do. So I think just trying to reach out to different people and learn as much as you can is the good way to decide, what path you want to take.
And then what are the best resources that have helped along the way? What do you say?
I guess I'm going to go back to the same thing. The professional organizations that I belong to and the contacts that I have, and just a huge, building a huge network. You can go on LinkedIn and build a network there. But I think to actually belong to different organizations and have face-to-face contact, I mean, you can just grow your network as big as you want and, figure out what you want to do.
What would your biggest challenge be as a grounds manager at American?
There's a lot of challenges, I guess. I'm responsible for snow removal, and you don't think about that when you're going into landscape field or whatever, but that's very common that landscape people do that in the winter, when things are slower. So that's probably part of my job that I definitely find a challenge. I definitely don't like it. But, that goes with the territory. But there's a lot of pressure and stress with snow removal because, you have to figure out if you're going to get things cleaned up so that the university can open on time, and they can't stand it when they can't open on time or have to cancel classes. So there's just a lot of pressure and stress around snow removal.
Looking back, what is something you'd tell yourself to help with your career? Like if you could talk to your past self.
I guess maybe trying to start to build a network earlier than I did. I really didn't belong to professional organizations when I was in college. Or I belonged to a horticulture club at University of Maryland, but I really didn't know that you could join professional organizations as a student. And I think that I could have definitely gotten a jump start on things and figured out which direction I want to go if I would have spent more time with people that were already in the field.
I know you said previously about how you wanted in your career path the reason why you picked horticulture was because you liked working outside instead of like being indoors. What drew you specifically to horticulture and like just in specifics?
I love nature and being outside, and I love plants. I love animals. I just really enjoy getting my hands dirty and doing physical work, moving around. And then it's just so rewarding to plant things and then see what they develop into. And if you stay at a property for a long time, like I've been here at American University for 20 years, you can watch how things that you planted when they were just, tiny little plants, and now they're big trees, and you see the fruits of your labor, I would say. So it's rewarding in that way.
And then also, how did sustainability affect your career on a day-to-day basis?
The whole sustainability movement, I would say, kind of really developed as I've been at American University. It's changed the way that we do things tremendously. So it's fueled us. It's given us lots of attention, lots of visibility, lots of support from the university, because landscaping and creating green spaces is so sustainable. And, we've been funded to do green roofs and rain gardens and all sorts of things like that. And there's just been a lot of attention on the landscape. So the whole sustainability movement has helped there. But it's also changed the way we do things a lot. So 20, 30, 40 years ago, it used to be the expectation that you have a weed-free lawn. So for instance, now with cutting back on the use of pesticides and herbicides, and which is what the students and faculty have really demanded and insisted upon, and they don't want us to be using chemicals. So if you go look at the turf that we have now, like it's got dandelions in it and clover in it and things like that, but nobody complains about it. Like everybody's just happy that it's green and they don't care that it's got, weeds in it. Where like 30 years ago, that would have been really frowned upon by like other people in the field, or just customers in general would not look at a lawn and think it's okay for there to be weeds in it. Now, like people want to see that as proof that we're not using chemicals. And, you've got the whole pollinator thing with bees and natural pollinators being in danger from pesticides and that sort of thing. So that's another reason, we don't want to use a lot of them on campus. And we actually have honeybees on campus to kind of demonstrate how important they are for pollinating our plants, particularly, our edible plants and that sort of thing. But yeah, the sustainability movement has definitely put more attention on the landscape, and I think helped us overall. Another change that was recently made for sustainability reasons is a lot of our equipment has changed. Like we used to use gas-powered leaf blowers, and just this year, January 1st of 2022, gas-powered leaf blowers have been banned in DC, and we have to use battery-operated ones. So there's a big learning curve and adjustment. With that, they're only operate for a short time and you have to change the batteries out. They're quieter, which is one of the main reasons that we got a lot of pressure from neighbors and residents of DC to outlaw the gas blowers because they're noisy, but they also cause more pollution from emissions, where you don't have that issue with the battery operated ones, but they're definitely not as powerful. So it kind of slows down our cleaning and that sort of thing. So again, expectations might change because we are using such powerful equipment. We may not clean leaves out of wooded areas anymore. We might leave them in beds if we have to, or just mulch over top of them. So we have to kind of constantly adapt to the changes that are coming our way.
Thank you. I've never actually thought about like the sustainability of how like deeply affects agriculture. I always feel like I never thought about how deeply it could change a career or change over time like that. Can you walk me through a normal day for you as groundskeeper?
There's really no normal day. every day's different, which is something that I like. But basically, the first thing I do is check my phone as soon as I get up to make sure there's no emergencies, no trees have fallen down on campus from ice on them like we have today. As I was driving into work, I noticed limbs in the road and that sort of thing. So when you have icing on trees, they fall down. Some of them break and fall down. So as soon as I looked out the window and saw what kind of weather we were having, I checked my phone just to make sure nobody had called or reported any trees down on campus. So like today, that's the first thing I did. And then when I got to campus, I just check my emails, make sure, we don't have any emergencies going on. I check in with a couple of my grounds supervisors. A lot of them start at 6 a.m. So I touch base with them, just see what's going on, what they're doing today. Since it's kind of a rainy, nasty, wet day outside, they probably can't do what they had planned on doing today. So they might have to switch up what they're doing and do some online training, or they can do some cleaning in our parking garages, things like that. So on a cold, rainy day like this, it's a little difficult, to have a normal day. We had planned on getting some areas ready for Campus Beautification Day, which is an event that we have every year where we invite students and faculty and staff to come out and help us with landscape projects. So we're kind of in the middle of selecting sites on campus that need landscape improvements. And then we kind of decide what we're going to plant there, and we get all the plants ordered and mulch ordered and whatever else we need, so that we've got all those areas prepared and ready to plant on Campus Beautification Day. So we're doing a lot of planning for that and preparation for that event right now. So, it just really varies by the season, then as soon as Campus Beautification Day is over, then our next focus will be getting everything looking really good for graduation. So, we try to switch out our flowers at that point. We have bulbs that come up that we leave in the ground every year. We used to take them all out and replace them. Now we're using primarily daffodils and narcissus because the deer and the rabbits don't eat them, and they come back every year really well. So we're trying to leave most of our bulbs in the ground, and then we just plant annual flowers in some of the key places on campus, like the entrances to campus, and a few places like on the quad, like in front of the School of International Service and the library, just very prominent spots. So we don't use a lot of annual plantings. We use primarily perennial plantings that come back year after year. Just kind of what I'm doing right now is getting ready for those different events.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. I tried my hand at gardening, and I'm good at planting seeds and growing them, and then once they bloom from there, it doesn't go that well. Last time I tried to plant cucumbers, and when I put them outside, the iguanas ate them when I was living in Puerto Rico.
I'm sure the iguanas eat everything from what I've heard.
They really do.
Yeah, I know they're a huge problem, in Florida, especially in the Keys. The iguanas they are not native there, so they don't have any predators, and they've they go out, they have a program to try to collect them and kill them because they're just so many of them, and they're eating a lot of the vegetation that native animals should have.
Thank you so much for coming. This has been super informative. This would be the end of the podcast. Again, can't thank you enough. This is very helpful. The Garden Gate was created by Kira Burba and Carolyn MacDonald as part of the Learning by Leading initiative with the Smithsonian Gardens.
Season 2 team includes McKenna Friedland, Catherine Mariano, and Annie Berlin.
Music is royalty-free music on SoundCloud. Special thanks to Cynthia Brown and Paula Healy. Learn more by visiting gardens.si.edu. Thanks for listening.